I'm sorry, Command Sergeant Major Robert Odine. And I'm sure that was a huge gap, but of course, I don't know my ranks all that well. So anyway, this man he is a one-man disclosure project, and he is also a dear friend of both mine and Bill's, and has been for many years. In fact, was one of our original Project Camelot witnesses many years ago, and we have done, I think, at least 3 interviews, maybe 4. And we also have had him at our 2009 Awake and Aware. And he is, he's just the kind of rebel with a cause that is an inspiration to all of us. And I want to say that he's also sort of got those Pleiadian roots that you can just sense about him, which is very heartwarming, at least for people like me. And I just want to say that the amount of love in this man's heart and what motivates him to get up every day and to continue to do so has to be an inspiration to all of us. He is fearless, and he has been deep inside, down the rabbit hole, as they say, and has been privy to information that he still has not completely shared with us. And we are told that if we ply him with enough Jack Daniels, that he's going to tell all. And so that's actually one of my missions for the conference. So we fully intend to do that. First, we're going to allow him to speak, to give his 2-hour thing here. But I assure you that we are not going to stop until he's given us every bit of information that he possibly can. Because I have to say, no, he's one of the old boys, the Old Boys Network, and he has their respect. He's actually been told that he has to come out and talk to us. So in many, many ways, he is literally a one-man disclosure project. And I will let Bill say a few words.
What Bob told me was that the only reason why each time he speaks he doesn't tell us everything he knows is because then we wouldn't need to invite him back to any more conferences. He's having way too much fun. So this is another installment of Bob's enormous personal library. He has a heart the size of a small planet. He has more experience than any of us can reasonably imagine. And talking with him publicly or privately, it's always been an enormous privilege, and I'm very proud to call him my friend. This is Bob Dean.
And we're just shuffling things around. You should be wired up, Bob. Let's hear you talk and make sure your mic works.
Yeah, can you hear me? Is it coming through? Hello? Can you count to like 3? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, well. All right, 1, 2, 3. You can hear me now. Okay. Thank you, Carrie, for that very sweet introduction.
Is this okay for you, sir?
Yeah, I just need some place where I have a note or two here, and I need to access. I'm in a rather fragile condition. I spent some time last night with a bunch of rowdies out here, table. And every time I get with a bunch of rowdies, I tend to be led astray. And I tend to drink too much and smoke too much. Anyhow, by the time it was over, I was a wreck, and I had to crawl into bed at about 2 in the morning, and I'm not quite back yet. But I will do my damnedest to give you what I've got to say today, because I came here because I consider it important. Okay. These techies, these guys amaze me. I mean, as you probably know, I'm not a technician, and I don't even own a computer. I refuse to have one of the damn things. I find them intrusive, insecure, and addictive. And I got into some rather serious remote viewing some years ago, and some meditation and some reflection and introspection, and got into some rather serious remote viewing. And I don't need a damn computer. They get in the way. So I would be the first to admit that I'm not, what is it they call it? Cyber. I'm not a cyber person, and I am a computer nitwit, really, when it comes to that. But fortunately, there are some lovely people who are helping me here. And we have a few photographs to share with you in a few moments. And okay, let's get started. A little over 100 years ago, a brilliant French philosopher, writer, poet by the name of André Gide made a statement that I consider to be very profound. He said that everything that has needed to be said, everything that is necessary to have been said, has already been said. But then he went on to say that no one was listening. No one was paying attention. So it all has to be said again. And I think that's appropriate, because here I am. I've been speaking publicly now for over 20 years. And as I may have said last night, I get to a point, I think I get into a point where you consider it a crisis of self-confidence, where I begin to wonder, has it made any damn difference? I've been speaking all over the world. I have a map in my office at home, and a world map, and I've got a bunch of little pins here and there. And the other day I was looking at it, and the map of the United States is practically full with little pins. And then I start looking about the world itself, and I find, my God, there are pins here, there, and everywhere. And it dawns on me why the hell I'm tired. Some of you may have noticed, I sure as hell have, that I seem to be getting older. And I don't have the stamina, and I don't have the energy and the strength that I used to have. I'm not surprised. I mean, that's part of the game. That's part of the territory. But I do get to a point now and then where I think, has it made any difference? And thank you for the loving support and the nice comments. But I look out at the mass of people in this country and around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, most of them haven't a clue. They haven't a clue as to what the hell is really going on in this world, or how they fit into it. They go on about their business, you know, and I'm not trying to fault them. Don't misunderstand me. I jokingly sometimes refer to Joe Sixpack. You know, the average guy out there, the working man, the guy with a family and kids and trying to pay a mortgage, trying to hold on to a job, trying to hold on to his house. And God bless him, he's going through hell, just holding on. My God, we just heard in the newspapers recently that 45 million Americans are under the poverty level. So my heart goes out to Joe Sixpack, and I won't say anything negative about him. I just wish the hell he'd pay a little more attention to some of the more important things in the world. Oh, God. Let me go back a bit. And why I'm even here. Many, many years ago, guys, I stumbled across a reality that I was not prepared to confront. And when I found out really what was going on in the world, I was in a state of shock. To some degree, I'm still in a state of shock. Because the reality that I have confronted over the last 50 years of my life has still left me shaken. And even today, after having spoken out for 20 years, over 20 years now, when I bring it up and share it with you, I still find that it shakes me up some. I've learned to confront this reality, and I've learned to become relatively comfortable with it. If comfortable is not the right word, I guess, but anyhow, back to André Gide. He said everything has to be said again because no one was paying attention, no one was listening. And it's appropriate that I share this little quote with you. 415 years ago, a brilliant scientist in Italy by the name of Giordano Bruno made this statement. He says, innumerable suns exist. Innumerable earths revolve around those suns. And living beings inhabit those worlds. Well, somebody paid attention to poor old Bruno because the nitwits in the Vatican burned him at the stake in the year 1600. But I'm here 415 years later, reminding you how right Giordano Bruno was. When I was in Italy, I went to his statue at the very spot where they burned him at the stake in 1600, and I laid some flowers at the bottom of his statue. And I will never forgive the Vatican for what they did. Now, they apologized to Galileo, and I know Galileo appreciated that. But they have not yet apologized to what they did to Giordano Bruno. Okay, as you can tell, I tend to ramble some. Forgive me. It goes with the territory. I think it's part of my, I'm an old fart. I mean, I can get away with rambling because just as long as I can walk around and still show up. What is it I've been talking about now for 20 years? I've been talking about what I consider to be the greatest story in human history. And it is essentially the greatest story of human history. Guys, we're not alone. And we have never been alone. The human race on planet Earth has had, as I have discovered, an intimate interrelationship with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence from the very beginning of our history. That intimate interrelationship is still underway. You're all hybrids. Everybody in this room is a hybrid. You've all had your genome manipulated by advanced extraterrestrial intelligence. And that intimate interrelationship involving that manipulation of the genome is still underway. It hasn't stopped. These advanced intelligences literally created Homo sapiens, what we used to call Cro-Magnon, I believe it was. And then the manipulation continued, and then they created Homo sapiens sapiens. Well, I can tell you that in this room tonight, there are Homo sapiens sapiens sapiens. There are hybrids